Your brain is literally working against your bank account right now, and you probably don't even realize it. The decisions you make with money aren't driven purely by logic or rational thought. Instead, your brain has evolved over hundreds of thousands of years with survival instincts that are completely misaligned with building wealth in the modern world. If you want to understand why you keep making the same financial mistakes, you need to understand how your brain is sabotaging you. And if you find this stuff fascinating, please hit subscribe. We break down the psychology behind money decisions that most people never think about. Let's start with one of the most powerful forces controlling your financial behavior: loss aversion. Your brain is fundamentally wired to fear losses far more than it enjoys gains. Imagine you're offered a bet where you flip a coin. Heads, you win $100. Tails, you lose $100. Logically, the odds are even, but most people refuse this bet. Why? Because the pain of losing $100 feels about twice as intense as the pleasure of winning $100. This isn't a character flaw, it's ancient biology. Thousands of years ago, when humans lived in small tribes and food was scarce, avoiding a loss could literally mean survival. Missing a meal meant you might starve. Gaining an extra meal was nice, but it didn't improve your survival odds as dramatically as avoiding starvation did. So evolution shaped your brain to fear losses intensely. But here's the problem. That instinct is destroying your wealth. When the stock market drops 5%, loss aversion floods your brain with stress chemicals. You feel an urgent need to sell and protect what you have. You're not thinking about the historical fact that markets recover. You're thinking like your ancestors, who needed to avoid immediate danger. This is why so many people keep money in savings accounts earning nearly 0% interest. The pain of potentially losing money in the stock market feels unbearable, even though the math clearly shows that over 20 or 30 years, stocks vastly outpace inflation and savings accounts. Your brain is choosing the safety of a terrible return over the statistical reality of building real wealth, and that choice is costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. But loss aversion is just the beginning. Your brain is also ruled by something called present bias. Present bias means your brain dramatically overvalues immediate rewards compared to future rewards. Right now, you can get a coffee, a meal, or some entertainment. The dopamine hit is instant, but the consequence, the money leaving your account, feels abstract and distant. Meanwhile, saving money for retirement feels meaningless because retirement is 30 years away. Your brain basically can't feel 30 years away. It feels like never. This is why you'll spend $40 on coffee without blinking, but you'll stress for hours over whether to invest $50 in your future. The coffee gives you immediate pleasure. The investment requires you to endure the discomfort of not spending money right now, with a reward your brain literally cannot emotionally connect to. Neuroscientists have scanned brains and found that when people imagine themselves in the future, the same brain regions activate as when they imagine complete strangers. To your brain, future you is basically a stranger. Why would you sacrifice for a stranger? Present bias is why so many people are broke at retirement despite having 40 years to prepare. They couldn't muster the emotional energy to care about someone who felt like a stranger to them. So, they spent everything now. And now that stranger, their future self, is real and suffering. Then there's anchoring. This is when your brain latches on to the first number it sees and uses that as a reference point for everything that follows. Let's say you're shopping and you see an item marked down from $100 to $60. Your brain doesn't evaluate whether $60 is a fair price for that item. Instead, it anchors to the $100 number. $60 feels like a bargain. You buy it. But that item might only be worth $30. The anchor made you think you were getting a deal when you were actually overpaying. Anchoring works the same way with investments. If a stock once traded at $80 and now trades at $40, many people feel like they're getting a bargain. They anchor to 80 and think 40 is cheap. But the price fell for a reason. The company might be worth $30. Anchoring makes you catch falling knives, and in your daily spending, anchoring makes you think that a 30% discount is an amazing deal, so you buy things you don't need. The original price wasn't real, it was marketing, but your brain believed it, anchored to it, and now you're poorer. Your brain also suffers from what's called availability bias. This means you overestimate the likelihood of things that are easy to remember, or that you've recently seen. If you watch the news and see a story about a stock market crash, your brain thinks crashes are common. If you see a story about someone winning the lottery, Your brain thinks lottery wins are more likely than they actually are. You judge probability based on what's available in your memory, not on actual statistics. This is devastating for personal finance because dramatic financial disasters are memorable and show up in the news constantly. Boring, reliable wealth building through regular investing is invisible. So your brain thinks investing is risky and boring is safe. In reality, not investing is the riskiest possible strategy. Your money loses to inflation every single day you don't invest it. But that loss is invisible and gradual. So your brain doesn't feel it. Your brain only notices the dramatic crashes that show up on the news. So you avoid investing and your money slowly dies. Availability bias turns you into a financial victim. There's also herding behavior. Humans evolved in tribes, and your brain still treats group membership as a matter of survival. When everyone around you is doing something, your brain generates a powerful urge to do the same thing. If everyone's talking about how great a certain investment is, your brain pressures you to invest without doing any analysis. If everyone's spending money on the latest trends, your brain creates social anxiety if you don't participate. Herding is why bubbles happen. During the dot-com bubble, everyone was talking about tech stocks. Your brain felt left out and afraid of missing out. People invested money they couldn't afford to lose. Then the bubble popped. Herding is also why you feel pressure to spend money you don't have to keep up with people around you. Your brain doesn't care that you're comparing yourself to people who are either in debt or earning way more than you. It just cares that the tribe is spending. So you spend, and you go into debt, and your brain never quite feels the shame because everyone around you is doing the same thing. Then there's confirmation bias. Your brain is pathologically obsessed with being right. Once you've decided that something is true, your brain will seek out information that confirms that belief and completely ignore information that contradicts it. Let's say you decide that the stock market is too risky. From that point on, your brain will notice every story about market crashes and completely ignore the decades of historical data showing that markets always recover and always outpace inflation. Confirmation bias makes you a prisoner of your own beliefs. This is especially destructive with money because financial decisions are complex and there's always contradictory information available. If you believe debt is evil, you'll find articles confirming that. If you believe debt is a tool, you'll find articles confirming that too. Your brain uses confirmation bias to filter out the nuance and keep you locked in whatever belief you started with. And if you started with a scarcity mindset or a belief that you're bad with money, confirmation bias will keep you trapped there forever. Your brain also falls victim to the sunk cost fallacy. This is when you keep investing in something bad because you've already invested in it. Imagine you buy a gym membership for $1,000 upfront. After a month, you realize you hate going to the gym, but because you've already paid the money, you feel obligated to keep going. Your brain thinks, I've already spent the money, so I have to get value from it. In reality, the money is gone regardless. The only question is whether going to the gym makes you happy right now, but sunk cost fallacy makes you miserable just to justify a past decision. This destroys wealth because people hold on to bad investments because they've already lost money on them. They think, I'm down $500. If I sell now, I lock in the loss. But the loss is already locked in. The only question is whether they believe the investment will recover. If they don't believe it, they should sell. But sunk cost fallacy makes them hold and hope, watching their money disappear slowly. People also spend money on things they hate because they've already committed to them. They're trapped in subscriptions they don't use, memberships they don't go to, and purchases they regret. Sunk cost fallacy makes you throw good money after bad instead of cutting your losses and moving on. Your brain also has a tendency toward magical thinking when it comes to money. You might think, I'll spend recklessly now and somehow figure it out later. Or you'll imagine that you'll win the lottery or get a huge windfall that will solve all your problems. Magical thinking feels good because it lets you spend money now without feeling guilty. You're not really taking on debt or destroying your future. You're just temporarily spending more than you earn. Future you will figure it out somehow, but future you is real, and future you is broke. Magical thinking also shows up as underestimating how much things cost. You think that apartment is affordable because you're only focusing on the rent, not the utilities, insurance, and maintenance. You think that car is affordable because you're only focusing on the monthly payment, not the insurance, gas, and repairs. Your brain compartmentalizes the costs to make the purchase feel more affordable than it is. And then you're shocked when you run out of money every month. There's also the illusion of control. Your brain wants to believe that you're in control of outcomes, even when you're not. This makes you feel like you can time the stock market. You think you can pick individual stocks that will outperform. You think you can spot the next big trend. In reality, the vast majority of professional investors can't beat the market. But your brain generates an illusion that you're smarter or more perceptive than the average person. So you take on risk that you're not equipped to handle, and you lose money. The illusion of control also makes you think you can control your spending and saving. You promise yourself you'll save more this month. You promise yourself you'll cut back on coffee. You promise yourself you'll start investing. But your brain is the one making these promises, and your brain is also the one that will break them. The willpower required to fight your brain's ancient instincts is enormous, and your brain knows this, so it makes these promises to your conscious mind to shut it up. But your brain has no intention of keeping them. Your brain wants the coffee, your brain wants the new clothes, and your brain will make your conscious mind rationalize the purchase afterward. One of the most insidious biases is the self-serving bias. This is when you take credit for good outcomes and blame external circumstances for bad outcomes. You make a good investment and think you're a brilliant investor. You make a bad investment and think it was bad luck. This prevents you from actually learning from your mistakes. If you lost money on an investment, you need to honestly evaluate what went wrong. Did you not do enough research? Did you panic and sell at the wrong time? Did you overestimate your knowledge? But self-serving bias makes you blame bad luck instead, so you don't learn. You make the same mistakes again. The self-serving bias also shows up with spending. You spend money and tell yourself it's an investment in yourself or an investment in happiness. You buy expensive clothes because you deserve it. You eat expensive meals because you earned it. You justify every purchase by telling yourself a story where spending money is actually the responsible choice. And your brain believes the story because your brain wrote it. There's also temporal discounting, which is the tendency to care less about future money than present money. This is related to present bias, but it's more specific. If someone offers you $10 now or $15 in a month, most people take the $10 now. The $15 is objectively better. But it's in the future, so your brain discounts its value. And the longer the future, the more it's discounted. Someone offers you $1,000 now or $2,000 in 10 years, and most people take the $1,000 now. This is why you can't seem to save. Saving requires you to value future money as much as present money. But your brain naturally discounts future money. Money in your hand right now feels more real, more valuable, and more important than money you'll have in the future. So you spend it. Your brain is literally wired to make you broke. Now, here's the good news. Knowing about these biases is the first step to fighting them. You can't change your brain's architecture, but you can build systems that bypass your brain's destructive instincts. You can automate your savings so the money leaves your account before your brain has a chance to spend it. You can delete shopping apps so the friction of making a purchase is high enough that present bias can't overcome it. You can set your investments on autopilot so you're not tempted to panic sell during market downturns. You can set a personal rule about anchoring. Never use the original price as a reference point. Only ask, is this worth the current asking price for my life right now? You can fight confirmation bias by actively seeking out information that contradicts your beliefs. If you think investing is risky, force yourself to read about why the safest investment is to let inflation slowly steal your wealth. If you think you're bad with money, find people with your background who are wealthy and study their systems. You can fight sunk cost fallacy by making a rule: never let past spending decisions affect future spending decisions. The money is gone. Make the choice that makes you happiest right now. You can fight the illusion of control by being honest about what you can control. You can't control the stock market. You can't pick the next big trend, but you can control whether you invest regularly in a diversified portfolio. That's boring and unsexy, but it works. And you can fight temporal discounting by making your future self feel real. Create a detailed vision of your life 10 years from now. What do you own? Where do you live? What does a typical day look like? When your future self feels real, it becomes much easier to care about their financial security. Your brain evolved to keep you alive in an environment where survival was uncertain and food was scarce. But you don't live in that environment anymore. You live in an environment where the biggest threat to your survival is your own inability to delay gratification. The good news is that you're aware of it now. You understand the game, and with awareness comes the power to change the game. You don't have to be a victim of your brain's ancient instincts. You can build a life where your brain works for you instead of against you. It takes work, it takes systems, it takes vigilance, but it's possible.